Talking about goals in life sounds so easy, but when you constantly run against closed doors, that can be really frustrating. That is what a lady wrote to me after my two thought walks about how I approach goals in life. And there's some truth in it, but you have to know one thing, and that is, let me tell you a metaphor. Imagine a man who was brought up in a family that, when they are talking, doesn't incorporate a lot of body language, not a lot of gestures, not a lot of facial expressions. So the typical non-Italian family, to bring up a cliche, let's call it the Angela Merkel style. All his relatives, his family, even in school, it was normal that there was not too much body language, and that was normal for him through his childhood, even in his young adulthood, not a lot of body language. But then he saw a speaker in his professional life. Let's take a public speaker or someone in his company. And this person talked so charismatically and with so much energy, and even the content of the words of the speaker fascinated him. And he thought, I also want to become a fascinating person like he or she is. So he watched videos of that person, and he realized, oh, this person is incorporating a lot of gestures and a lot of facial expressions. So maybe that is the thing that I have to change in my personality. So he started to practice to incorporate gestures and more facial expressions. He read books about it, he watched YouTube videos, he practiced it in front of the mirror. And then he tried it at a meeting in his company. A small meeting, not an important one, because he thought nothing much can go wrong when I try it in that meeting. So he stood in front of the audience, colleagues, and started incorporating while speaking the gestures and the facial expressions. And from the first moment on, the colleagues looked strangely at him, and he immediately realized something is wrong. And then he thought, yeah, I know why. Because I didn't practice enough. So he intensed his practice. And he even attended a seminar that promised that you would learn to incorporate more gestures and more facial expressions. The seminar, let's call it, was called Awaken the Italian Within You. And he really practiced a lot during the seminar. But he saw even the other attendees, had fun incorporating the things. He didn't really have fun. He found it interesting, but it was hard work for him. But that was the proof. He just had to practice more. So he practiced even more. And he tried it out, and he recorded himself. And so he kept practicing more gestures, more facial expressions for 2 years. But it still was really hard for him. And he tried it out during meetings, during presentations, and it didn't seem to work out. But he knew he just had to practice more. After 2 years, a colleague comes up to him and says to him, you know, my friend, I know you for more than 2 years now. When I got to know you, you were a calm but relaxed person. Lately, you became way more stiff and unrelaxed. Why is that? And then he realized something. He took old recordings of himself and watched himself when he was talking in his calm family style. And then he compared these old recordings with new recordings, and he realized it looks completely strange. And that is the thing, you know. You see a person and you are completely fascinated by that person, and you think if you only copy that person, you will also become that person. That is, in a way, the thing with role models. You know, when you're always looking for role models, you forget about one person, and that is yourself, because you take the role model and the goals of the role model more important than yourself. What is your personality? For instance, I was talking about sports so much lately, but sports are only a metaphor for my whole life. But anyway, you know, if you as a man have the picture of a person who is well trained, not a lot of body fat, a six pack on the belly, but your metabolism isn't made for that, then it is really hard for you. Or if you see a person like Arnold Schwarzenegger with big muscles, but your body is not built to build big muscles. You know, those people who are very slim even when they eat two spaghetti bowls. If you're built like that, you will have a hard time growing muscles. And even if you do it way more than Arnold Schwarzenegger, you won't build as big muscles. And the same with women. You know, if you see the ladies in the bikinis and the ladies with the bikini gaps, and you think, oh, that is what I want to look like, but your body isn't built that way, it is very hard for you. That is another metaphor. What we have to do is, before we find a goal, we always have to know, who are we? What is our personality? Because if we find goals that are not made for us, we will always run against closed doors. Even, and that is the painful thing, even when we work more than other people. And I think, if if after 1 or 2 years a thing doesn't work out, even when you worked a lot for it, it is time to step back a little bit and think, maybe I'm not made for that. Don't mix it up with when you stand on a snowboard and after half a day you can't go with a snowboard. That is too short a time to know whether it is for you or not. But if you did it for a long time, and if you run against closed doors too often in your life, there are only two possibilities. Number one, you didn't practice or work on it hard enough. And that is sometimes strange, because a lot of people work when they have a goal. They are really, really enthusiastic and work on it, let's say, for 2 weeks. And after 2 weeks, they are distracted a little bit. Then they forget about it for 1 week. Then they start again and do it for 2 weeks again. And then they are distracted for another 2 or 3 weeks. And then they start again. In their imagination, they have worked throughout the whole time. But it wasn't the whole time. It was only once a while they worked on it. And that can be really frustrating. You can spend your life with that not achieving a goal because you didn't work on it consistently. But number two is, maybe that goal isn't made for you. And that is the thing. So you don't have to run. You don't have to earn money that much. You don't have to walk on stages. You don't have to become famous. You don't have, I don't know what. If it is not your personality, you will have a hard time achieving it. I think you can be way more happy if you do what you are made for. And that is the thing that we have to strive for. Your goals have to be in alignment with your personality.